The Consulting Success podcast is powered by the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to work directly with the Consulting Success team and receive personal coaching and support to optimize and grow your consulting business, marketing, and revenue, visit consultingsuccess.com to find out more and apply.
Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zapersky. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the world of elite consultants, where you'll learn the strategies, tactics, and mindset to grow a highly profitable and successful consulting business. Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky here, and today I'm really excited to have Michele Benton with us. Michele, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here, Michael.
Yeah, so Michele, you are the president of Lime, a life sciences marketing strategy and capability consulting firm. I've been fortunate to witness firsthand the amazing work that you do with your clients, the career that you've had to this point, which we're going to really dig into. But you've just been accomplishing some really great growth, within your own business. And I want to start, before we get to all the exciting things of how you've been growing your business, the transitions and challenges and just experiences that you've been having as you've been really accelerating your growth and building team. I want to go back because I want to hear the story behind the name of your company, Lime. Where does that come from? Why did you choose Lime for your firm name?
It started off as something I was getting ready to leave to go defend my dissertation. So I'm getting ready to leave the country in 2 days. One of my colleagues called me up and said, "Hey, you have this opportunity with this very large Fortune 50 company, but Michele Benton LLC ain't going to cut it when it comes to credibility. Is there any way you can position yourself?" So I needed to come up with a name on the fly and was just sort of trying to keep it simple, apply all of my marketing and branding techniques that I've picked up over the years. And it made I really got to what the core premise was, which we do, is this notion of enhancing what's already there. There's so many uncontrollables in our business life. We can't control the competitors. We can't control the market, the industry, external environments and factors, but we can take what we have and figure out how to make it better. So just like someone might add lime to the soil to adjust the pH, likewise, it would be adding lime. And then, of course, candidly, green's my favorite color. So it kind of all made sense and we had a lot of fun with it. So hence, Lime was born and I flew out 2 days later and there you go.
There we go. Well, you're wearing orange today, not green, but I do see a green plant behind you. So
yeah, we've got it in there. We've got to do complementary colors. So
there we go. Looking good. But the other thing I found really interesting about the name is like when you and I, through some of our conversations, you've really done a great job of like taking the name and finding ways to bring life, like to kind of illustrate the name, like to make it more tangible, to build a story around it. Just talk about is that something that you had from the beginning? Has it been more something you've developed over time? Like how have you kind of gone about taking this concept of Lime and actually starting to kind of build a story around the name?
So in my early days of consulting, I really viewed it as concept testing. So rather than a traditional way, which is I'm going to develop my plan, I'm going to work it out and go from there, I took much more of a nimble approach. And I said, you know what, these first 2 years, I'm just going to concept test. Let me see what the market wants. Let me just talk a lot of different ways. Let me see what services people are interested in. Let me listen to it. And so it was very much an experimental time for me. So I didn't set out with it being the star of the show. I wanted coherence in that I wanted a name I could live behind and it made sense. And when I was picking it up, those boxes were checked. But over time, it was interesting how that started to really become more of the value proposition and more of what unique benefits we brought that perhaps some of my competitors do not. And so it really became a place to start to differentiate. It's not the star of the show, but it helps. Metaphors are a real powerful way to help explain and bring to life sometimes complicated concepts. And so it has really become a very powerful metaphor and has also helped me focus in terms of things perhaps to drop off or what we're really all about. It started off sort of as probably something more superficial, and it evolved to something which has helped us make strategic choices. In a lot of ways, it's our beacon.
And I want to bring that to life for everyone with us here today. I want to make that more tangible in terms of how you've kind of leveraged that into strengthening your value proposition, your strategic offers, right, your service offers, and all that kind of stuff. But before we get there, you mentioned that the first kind of couple of years, right, you were very open to just testing. Make that more tangible for everyone joining us right now. What were you actually doing? Like, was it having conversations? Were you asking certain things? Just if you could offer a few examples, Michele, of like how you actually about testing the messaging, testing the offers. How do you go about it?
So the first thing I did was take the constraints of having a plan. So someone who has been in marketing myself for over 2 decades, I mean, we value good, solid strategic planning. And so I have to say that there was a lot of personal discomfort in moving into an experimental mode when this is going to be your business, right? So that was, I think the first step is giving yourself permission and saying, I need to concept test, just like I do with early stages of marketing on a product. So the first thing I did was sort of remove those constraints. And a lot of it was just being really open to hearing what was coming to me. So really being in tune to what were people coming to me for? What were the problems that they had? What were they asking me to do? What were the tasks they were looking for help? It was interesting because early on, I really haven't had to do cold call marketing at all. 100% has been people coming to me, my reputation or referrals, or, hey, I heard you're doing some consulting. Can you help out with this? I'm not sure. So there was a lot of those conversations, and I was really listening to what those problems were. Of course, I had the experience from my own time being in the seat of marketers and commercial excellence leaders, but it was also really listening and being in tune. So rather than pushing my agenda, it was truly that outside in where you really want to hear what's coming in, listen for it, adjust, and not hold anything too tightly. A lot of it was in your head more so than it was in specific actions.
There's that common saying that one of the traits or characteristics of the most successful consultants is their ability to ask great questions and then listen, right? And it's the same thing as actually one of the best ways to actually build your business is to listen. So often people are rushed to but they're not thinking about, what's going on. And you have a conversation with somebody, if you just actually take a moment and kind of note down afterwards, what did that person say? And what do they ask about? What was the real problem? And then probe. And the more you do of that, right, the more clarity you're going to get around what the marketplace really wants, which allows you then to make better decisions and take kind of more powerful action. So you talked about your career a little bit, right? Working inside of organizations before you went out into consulting. Just give us like a 30, 40 second kind of timeline of from university age, right, into just before you went out and started your own consulting business. What did that look like for you? Where were you working? What were you doing? What's kind of that career progression?
Sure. So I'm not going to go into the long story, but as I was organizing a few things, I came across my stack of scholarship applications from when I was 17 years old. And there was one application where we actually had to say, what are our future plans and what did we want to do when we grew up, right after college? And I had typed in, right, my little brother typewriter. We didn't even, have it on the computer then. And I had typed, run my own consulting company in the space of employee relations. Totally forgot about that. And I had been really driven by that at a really young age. Went to university, actually majored in sort of industrial or labor relations, sort of this people development type of stuff. And as I went through college and finished that and started my first job, it was interesting. I kind of witnessed two separate things. The first thing was my dad at the time was actually trying to start his own company. My dad is brilliant. He's a National Foundation scholar and expert in his field. He was trying to parlay into a consultancy, but what he didn't have were the tools to run the business. So I think what I witnessed is that just because you may be an expert in your field, there's like a separate task, a separate effort of running your business. And that perspective wasn't there for him. And I know that, it was very difficult in watching him kind of struggle through those challenges and then ended up going back to corporate America because it wasn't something that worked out. And so that struck me. And then at the same time, I was starting my first job out of college and I was watching all these consultants come in, working 80 hours a week, no life, on the road all the time. And all of these factors, I'm like, this isn't for me. So set all that stuff aside, dove into corporate life. I worked in marketing in the US. I worked in emerging markets, launched products, took products off patent, everything in between, all the customer types. I mean, I love marketing. About halfway through my career, I got tapped to lead marketing capabilities. We had never really had that function in my company. So I was starting it up and I realized I loved teaching it even more. And that sort of started the second phase of my career. They often say that chance favors the prepared. So after a lot of thinking, I was getting my PhD at the same time, raising my family. It's crazy times. But there was a moment where I could step away and it gave me an opportunity to start my practice, experiment out a little bit, see if consulting was for me, and applying the lessons I saw from my dad as well as what I didn't want, it really led me to build the business today. And one point I'd like to make about that, because it was really important to me in this consultancy, I didn't want an 80-hour a week run your nose to the ground, be a slave to everyone, and have no life. What was really important for me was crafting this next chapter. This consultancy chapter for me was really about crafting the lifestyle that goes with the impact that I can make. And I found that you don't have to trade off. That was what I really wanted to see is, can I make an impact with customers, with my clients, and at the same time still have integration, have family, have time to work different hours or do different things and have that flexibility so I could really have that joy and satisfaction in life. And that became something very important to me as I was building the business early on and today.
And this is one that we share, and like our value of consulting success, and something that you and I have talked a lot about, over our work together. And I had a note down to ask you about this later on, but I think you're bringing it up. So let's just dive into it. It's such an important kind of area where you've been very focused from the get-go of your business that you just don't want to have a business, right? That is, I often kind of think like this triangle, at the apex of the triangle, many people put their business, and the bottom they put their lifestyle, which means the lifestyle has to make changes to support the business. And I'm a believer that you want to put your lifestyle at the apex of the triangle and then put the business below it so that you figure out what adjustments you can make within your business and your structure to support your lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. What have you done those specifically, Michele? Like, I want to dive into your mindset, right? People can say like, oh yeah, I travel or I balance, my time with family. Like, these are all things that are easy for people to say, but what are you actually doing to accomplish it? So like, take us back from the onset of your business, right? You started your consulting business 2015, I believe. So here we are, right? 6 years or so into it. What did you do early on? And then I'd love to kind of hear like what changes you've made, both from a mindset perspective and then actually in terms of like blocking and tackling the structure. Walk us through what you feel has had the biggest impact on you being able to travel, spend time overseas, have that real balance or just that sense of lifestyle while still running a really successful consulting business.
I think the first step is rejecting this devoted worker ideal. And I think, if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, their view was, if I can extract extra effort out of people and not have to pay them more, if I can get their discretionary effort, I can increase my productivity and not invest any extra costs. So my profits do better. So this whole machine evolved from the turn of the century till modern organizational psychology. And I studied it in college. So I was sort of a student of that and an embracer of that early on. That makes you believe, meaning and purpose through work, and you must work hard. And if you aren't, putting the effort in, you don't deserve the satisfaction. And so there's these beliefs that are hardwired to so many of us in Western society, at least. And I think the whole process of it is starting to see what that is, which is really just a ruse to get you to give more at the same price, right? Your salary minus a little bonus might be a little different, but at the end of the day, the company benefits and your family suffers. Work-life integration, we talk about that. Work has done a great job integrating into our life, but our life really isn't allowed to integrate back. COVID, to some extent, has shown a spotlight on that and perhaps gave some more bounds. But now as we're into recovery, hey, back to normal and, back to challenging that in a lot of companies in a lot of respects. So I think the first step is really deciding whether that narrative is working for you, and is hours worked really the value of joy and satisfaction and impact. So that's the first thing. And I think the second thing is really being ruthless with your time. So for me, I'm a morning person and I know what I need to accomplish in a certain fixed amount of time. And so for me, I become very driven and focused on it and really want to make sure I'm clear in what does the client want from me, what's going to make an impact, and speed. And in a way, and this is why when I think about, our conversations, why hourly billing doesn't work for consultants, because our value is in how fast we can do things. The 20 years of experience I have I allow customers to get there faster in a more efficient way. So there's a value base to my offering as opposed to a time base. So time doesn't have to be the currency. Impact, value, that's the currency. So really thinking about what's going to provide the greatest amount of impact. And I think it's a lot too of just practical scheduling. I really try to chunk my work. So for instance, I'd really try to keep certain days for my strategic planning, one day maybe for administration. And then I try to block client calls or client meetings and work sessions into certain periods of time. Obviously, once in a while, if we need to move it, but the more you can chunk your work, you can actually be more efficient. Other small things like turn off those darn email notifications. It's really minimizing distractions and getting into that flow can really help you do your best work. And I think the final thing is sort of this relationship with technology and really thinking through, like, stillness is actually an okay thing. So if I'm standing in the grocery line or waiting at a doctor's appointment, do I need to be scrolling on my phone in constant frenetic behavior? Or am I trying to sit and think, maybe I could find a new pattern of doing something, or maybe there's an insight that sort of connects for me. And so really stealing moments of where I can have stillness or do some thought or make sure that I'm engaging in self-care along the way. So it's a variety of things. I wouldn't say I've mastered it, but for me, it's about the most joy comes with the connections with my family. And I need to be energetic. I need to show up. I need to be there and fully present. And I can't do it if I'm on my phone.
How do you approach travel, right? So we're talking, you just got back from a recharge, right? There was still some work happening for quite a period of time. You were also at the beach, spending time with family. You spent time also overseas. Your business is still successful. Like, walk us through your mindset around travel. And then what are the preparations or the approach that you take to be able to still travel? I mean, until fairly recently, a lot of the work that you've been doing has been as a solo consultant, right? You're now a team. And I want to get into that because it's been just tremendous of how you're able to move really quickly in that direction. What do you do when it comes to travel? What are some of the best practices when you think about the balance of how to actually have time to travel? Because so many people, if they're especially a solo consultant, they don't travel. Like, they don't really take holidays, and then they kind of suffer and they tell themselves that they can't for whatever reason. How do you approach it?
So it gets back to the mindset again, right? We have this belief that, oh my gosh, taking vacation, like, there's this bravado that comes with, I haven't taken a vacation in 5 years, or I haven't been away from the office for a week. Well, I'll take 3 weeks away. I have done that. Or I will block it where I know I can work from anywhere in the world. So I just plan to say, okay, I know these weeks will be my vacation time. These weeks will be my work time. And I'll, again, try to block and organize it ahead of time so that I'm planful for it. So I think that's something that's really important, is thinking through and planning, but also not feeling like there's something wrong with it. I think that was something that I struggled with, is like, am I getting away with something here by being able to do these things? And yet, what's wrong with it? If I'm making tremendous impact, I'm meeting my client needs, I can do that from any place around the world and not being apologetic about it or feeling like there's something wrong with it.
And what about the mindset or the belief that some consultants have that, no, my clients need access to me. Like, I can't just go away. They're going to, that's going to cause issues. How do you communicate to clients that you're going to be away for, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks?
Maybe it's the belief that my clients are paying me for brilliant thinking and new ideas. If I don't feed my creativity, if I don't feed my soul, if I'm not in strategic renewal, then how do I give that back to my clients? So I think what's most important is ensuring that my value is my creativity or my new ideas or my ability to see a client's business a different way than they see it. And I need to be able to have the mental space to do it. I'm straightforward. I'm like, I'm going to be unavailable from this time to this time. No one needs to know what I'm doing or why I can't make a meeting. I'm doing my best to meet their needs. Even while I'm away, I may take a device break for a few days, but you can check in. But you know what? When you're sitting having a cup of coffee, looking out at the ocean and checking a few emails, you don't have to respond, but you keep a pulse, things work out. And it's this sense that life will go on. So I always challenge that thought. Well, they need access to me. It's about impact. And, they have my cell phone. If it's an emergency, they can call me, right? I mean, if it's something that they have to do. But I think part of what I'm doing with my practice and with my clients is helping them realize how to manage their own capacity. It's surprising, like, while I'm looking at marketing strategy and how to make for better marketing actions and practices, a big chunk of it is, how are our marketers taking care of themselves? Do they have the capacity to think? Do they have the capacity to learn? What space are they making for themselves? So if I'm preaching that, I certainly have to practice that. And I do believe that that is the solution to managing in our fast moving times, is we've got to be thinkers. It's not about knowledge workers, it's about creative workers. And we've got to come up with new ideas. And so we've got to show up differently, take care of ourselves differently, train differently, engage in different practices.
While we work with a lot of seasoned and experienced consultants here at Consulting Success, I'm often contacted by new early stage consultants. Invariably, the question I'm asked is, what are the steps I should take to become a successful consultant and grow my consulting business to my first 6 figures per year? Well, I'm excited to announce that we've opened the doors for our Momentum program. This is our most popular program for early stage consultants, and it has helped almost 1,000 consultants to start, run, and grow successful consulting businesses. It gives you the step-by-step plan to help you with your messaging, your fees, and pricing strategies, how to win more proposals, how to go to market more effectively, developing a marketing system to generate leads consistently, and so much more. And right now, until September the 19th, you can sign up for Momentum and get 50% off the regular price by going to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. Only 100 spots are available to join Momentum and get 50% off. This deal is only available until September the 19th or until all 100 spots are gone. We won't be opening up new spots in this program for several months, so don't wait. Go to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. You work with so many organizations in the kind of life sciences area. How has that decision to focus on life sciences impacted your strategy to go to the market, your messaging, your overall brand building? Just what kind of impact has that had on you from a mindset and kind of business perspective as well?
That is something that I think is probably one of the most important shifts that I made this year, was creating that focus. And I think I had been reluctant to, because as I was listening to the market, I saw needs in so many places, and I had successfully helped lots of different types. The problems are the same sometimes in different places. But in marketing, we teach prioritize your customer segment. So again, practice what you preach. By narrowing down to a ideal client and focusing on life sciences actually creates more potential. And the reason for it is because you can focus and deliver that extremely well. It has amplified Lyme. I mean, think about it. It's taken the Lyme metaphor now into the life sciences. It actually even makes that much more sense. So it's strengthened the value proposition. It's allowed for us to do some really interesting things in our service offerings. And it is a very special place. Life science marketing is neglected. You got people who are great at sales. There's a ton of support for sales and sales training. I mean, there's a lot of investment made in training the sales team. And for marketers who are making billion-dollar decisions and affecting millions of patients worldwide, we don't train them. They come up and sort of learn by chance, and that's not fair to them. So I really feel very passionate about helping this very unique need and being able to do so because I sat in their seat. So being able to toggle between I've been there, but also I've learned some practices, and we have some new methods that actually might not only help you help your customer, your own patients and physicians and everything better, but also your own life and being more satisfied as a marketer in the industry.
Every time that you and I speak, it shines through. And when we talk about this idea of like specializing right in life sciences, the whole concept of Lyme, I've seen you like literally just kind of birth life into this concept. And one of the things that I've found so interesting is the way that you've been able to navigate. If you go back, let's say, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, you had a lot of different capabilities, right? A lot of different, right, that we've looked at. Here now, fast forward to where you are today, it seems like you're much more focused. You have a lot more structure, right, around your offerings. What are maybe some of like the big breakthroughs or ideas that you feel have had the biggest impact on going from this place of a lot of different things that you could offer because you're an expert in many different things to actually being in, like narrowing in and really creating that best in class program specifically for life sciences organizations? What are the big take kind of breakthroughs that you've had as you've gone through that process?
It's a lot like making whiskey. You start with a lot of corn mash, and there's just a ton of distillation that has to come down. And I think it's that ruthless simplification and distillation where I think what helped was the process of putting everything down on paper and just seeing how overwhelming it was. So quantity isn't necessarily more. And so being able to streamline it and being really committed to, okay, let's just cut this, even though it's hard to do, continuing to cut and to streamline to get that distillation, get to the essence of what's there. I think the other thing is being really clear on the problems to solve. And so one of the big differentiators for us is that we don't necessarily, okay, you want this particular solution or this training course or design me a program, but there's actually a lot of other things in play. It's not just building the skills of somebody, but institutionally, are the institutional pieces in play? Are the interrelational ways in which leaders and peers interact with each other? There's a lot of other factors. So we created a diagnosis approach so that it saves us a lot of time rather than delivering and then realizing there's a mess to clean up and then clean it up. Instead, let's kind of take a big picture view, something we call the soil test, again, playing to Lyme, And then we can figure out what treatments make sense, what's fit for purpose for the organization, what's the soil, what's the climate, what's the flora, the fauna, and then be able to come up with something. So you get a lot of efficiency in doing that. So it actually helps the clients, bring them along to say, there's a lot of things at play here. Let's try to get this right out of the gate. And then also being able to offer that different perspective. A lot of times we'll see the answer. We'll see, oh, this and this is wrong, but we're in a change management job. We have to help our clients see that too. And so let's meet them where they're at. Let's look at and take a deep dive and then be able to specify treatments from there. And then narrowing it into just a few offerings. So, we know customization is something that's really important. Everyone wants a customized learning program, but there's ways to do that in an effective way that perhaps other consultancies can't. So we've really focused on how do we streamline this customization so that it's fit for purpose, but at the same time is something that really adds a lot of value and isn't just so labor intensive for the team as well. So kind of striking that balance.
How about for you, in your own kind of mind, what would you say has happened for you as an entrepreneurial consultant, as an owner of a consulting firm with team members? What has narrowing in, and I would call actually subtracting, right? Taking from, some people think you need to add in order to grow. And in fact, no, you need to subtract, right? To be able to grow and get more focused so you can find more leverage and build more systems and processes around what you're doing. And that's what you've been working through now. What's happened for you as now that consulting business owner? How do you feel different about the business, about the offerings today compared to where you were before, where you had a lot of different things and you're offering a lot of different services to different people?
You feel more in control. So I go back to that example when my early 20s, when I started working and was watching these consultants just have no life and working 80 hours and just redoing their work. We're not doing that. We're coming in, we're able to add value. So there's this huge amount of control and satisfaction and sort of like impact and satisfaction that's there. But this clarity is something that's been really surprising. It's like pruning, right? So we go back to the lime metaphor. You're pruning off those little shoots of growth to really focus so that you can make what's really important stand out. And I think that pruning, I was hesitant to do because I'm like, we should be creating it, but actually the best horticulturalists are pruning and making sure that we're taking care of what's there so that you're amplifying. I mean, we talk a lot about amplifying the value proposition. So how do we take which is good and amplify it and do more of it rather than try to spread the peanut butter and end up, being nothing to anyone or just not being anything interesting or differentiating. So powerful. And also I think it helps when you talk about balancing life. So you can plan better when we're working through the process. So we've made these best practices. We know what the soil test should look like. We know what treatments work, what treatments don't, the right combination. That clarity helps us move more effectively for clients and allows other team members to step in and pick up pieces. So it's not all on me. I don't want something to happen to me and the business goes away. I think we have a really important mission to take care of our life science marketers so they can take care of patients. And at the same time, it can't just be on one person. That for me was the biggest shift this year, is how to move this out of it's just me into how do we do this on a wider scale with wider impact. So having the clarity, having a clear client, having a very clear value proposition, making choices and pruning, systematizing things creates an efficiency, creates a power, and creates an impact with customers that it's funny going into it, you wouldn't have imagined it, but like peaceful. I think that's probably, yes, it's crazy busy. We still have lots of things, as we're in the evolution and transition process, but there's also a peace in that I know the things that need to happen and we're on the right track and the vision of it and what we need to do. And I think that piece is something that is just irreplaceable. So that's been the best value for me.
That's fantastic. Michele, if you were to identify what maybe held you back from building a team earlier, what was the conversation in your own mind? What were some of the hesitations that you maybe had or faced or considered that just, again, held you back from bringing people on earlier than you did? Because I think others may also be maybe experiencing some of those right now. So I'd love to just hear from you what was going on. And then next, just to explore what was the turning point for you to go, okay, yeah, I see that now I need to do this.
So last year was, obviously, it was a very disruptive year for everybody, but it also was a year where there was a lot of erratic work and it was very intense work. And I was getting to the point where after 4 or 5 years, each year we were growing at a nice double-digit rate. I was able to continue clients and referrals. Business was going great. I was working a reasonable amount. I had my travel. I built the lifestyle I wanted. And I realized at the end of last year, I can't grow anymore. It's almost like there's a roof on top. The plant can't grow anymore with just me. There was only so much that I could do. And one path as I was having my recharge over the holidays, I was like, well, I can kind of go in one of two directions. One could be, this is great, and this can be my lifestyle to the end, but that's not really me. So I just, as I said, it kind of goes back to that mission of life sciences and life science marketing. I think it's so important what the industry does for society. And it's so important that the skills, the marketers, these people care, and they deserve the skills, the personal growth and satisfaction to be able to do well, to meet what society is expecting from them. And there's just so much, gosh, you see this empty field waiting for growth. And for me, that just became a turning point to say, well, maybe there's a way to parlay this into something bigger. And I think for me, the challenge was how to make that transition, because I wasn't in a position from a cash flow standpoint that I could just feel comfortable bringing lots of people on or doing that. But by doing it in small projects and doing it stepwise, and again, experimentation, concept testing, let's see what works, rather than feeling like I have to go out and hire 5 people. Let's just test some things out, see what works, and start to evolve and systematize the business. And we're still in the evolution phase, but I think it's being patient and also being okay with experimentation versus feeling like you've got to have it perfect out of the gate. Don't let perfect get in the way of good.
The first kind of hire that you made, or who were those kind of first people that you brought on in terms of the roles? And then why do you decide to kind of fill those roles first?
So 2 main roles were the priorities. One was just having some assistance because I was doing everything. I'm still transitioning. So I will be fair that I'm on my growth curve too. So, progress over perfection, as I said, was a business manager to really help with systematizing, capturing the flow of work, handling some of the blocking and tackling, working with my calendar, just some of those things that I used to have support when I was in big company, had done, transitioned and done on my own, that I really now to get back and really be the president, right? Not necessarily be the doing everything. The second big hires were around the actual content creation. So how we do content creation, learning, innovation, because that was a place where simply we were having a lot of workload that I couldn't handle on my own. And so bringing some different expertise in, which also will help improve the quality of the offering. So hiring a few other folks who had life science experience to bring that perspective, but also could share the workload, and we can divide up projects so it's not all on me. And I can spend part of my time running the business, as consultants should be doing. So I can still do my client interaction and strategy work and things that I love, but also another piece, which is I love running my business. So this has been a really nice shift. And you, again, talk to lots of different people. It's an ongoing process, and it's been really good. I'm so excited about what's ahead of us. We've got a big team meeting tomorrow where we're going to do some future planning as a team and really think about how we can make this work for everyone. The other thing, Michael, I wanted to mention too, that it's not just the consulting work, but it's also creating this future forward workplace. So yes, personally, I might have come to a place where this is how I want my lifestyle to be while a consultant. But I think this launch of a relaunch or next generation of Lime is also about creating this future forward workplace and answering the call to say, how do we structure our workplace? If this old way is no longer working, how does the new way work in a global, social, digital world? I mean, I'll tell you, there is a ton of amazing talent that, quite frankly, with a society that's not set up for a 2-partner household working, that wants to do great work, wants to deliver incredible client value, but quite frankly, can't be on the road 20 days a month or work 80 hours a week. We need to adjust it differently. And we want something else from our lives than just the grind. So I think there's a ton of untapped talent that are being left behind in these old, outdated workplace models. So really becoming this future forward in the way we run our consultancy is something that I'm very proud of, and I think will be a big differentiator for us in the future.
I know with so many consultants that we work with, initially the hesitation to bring people on because it feels like, well, I'm going to have to manage people and go through hiring and training, and it's faster for me to do it myself, and it's money out of my pocket, and all these kind of stories that we tell ourselves. But every single consultant has gone down that path of actually starting, being strategic about putting people in place, whether they're full-time, part-time, contractors, freelancers, but starting to build a team around you. When you actually start to see like the potential to make a greater impact, right? So make a greater impact on society or the marketplace or whoever it is that you want to serve and those clients, but also you get to make a really great impact on these people that are now your team members. Like for me, it feels really great to have a great team that's doing great work. And you know that you're also supporting these people in their lives and they're helping you to support more people. And so it's like this beautiful cycle that just opens up so much potential to make an impact. At the same time, starts to kind of buy back some of your time, frees you up, right? Allows you to spend more time being strategic or traveling or doing other things. So I'm so glad that you've chosen this path. If you were to share maybe one breakthrough or one way, like, is there anything that's been surprising for you as you've built a team, or anything that you feel like, yeah, this has really helped and I wish I would have done this sooner? Is anything that kind of stands out to you relating to building a team?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's this mindset of seeing it like I'm running my business. That shift, it's just a subtle shift, but it's one that's so powerful, where I'm a consultant for hire and I'll do this different work, as opposed to I have a company and I'm running a business. And that shift in the last few months for me, and looking at my business, looking at my practices, looking at I should be doing or not doing, or where I spend my time through that lens, opens up so much more potential. And I think, it goes back to, the story I told about my dad. No one ever talked to him about that. So you're struggling and trying to figure that out on your own. And I'm so fortunate to have resources and the time we've been working together and exploring ideas and really being able to see both sides of it, like seeing it, I can do great work, but also I need to run a business. And fortunately, with my marketing experience, it comes a little easier to me. So I definitely have sympathy for folks who may not have it, but it's a learned skill. So as long as you're aware there's that business piece of it and you tap into resources and you look in that area, that can make the shift of being able to create something really great. I know my dad would be really proud of me today.
It makes me smile as you say that and talk about your father that way. It's really beautiful. And I think really what you're hitting on is what we often kind of refer to as the difference between a consultant and an entrepreneurial consultant, right? A consultant is someone that can deliver work. They're oftentimes actually just working as a contractor, really, even though they might call themselves a consultant. An entrepreneurial consultant is a consulting business owner, someone who sees themselves as not just doing the work, but building a business. And that then incorporates all the different things that you're mentioning, from marketing to systems and processes and team. If you want to have a team, not necessarily for everybody, but for many people, certainly a really good opportunity. So that's just an important distinction to make, to know, and to kind of to see, because once you embrace it, it starts to just really shift your mindset and allow you to make much better decisions, as you've really been experiencing. So Michele, I want to thank you so much for coming on here today, talking about Lime and what you've been up to and what you're working on right now. I want to make sure people can learn more about your work. I know you create a lot of great content, insights. Even for those of you who are not in life sciences, I think you can still pick up a thing or two from what Michele and her team are putting out at Lime. So where's the best place for everyone to go? If there was, like the website, or just kind of point us, where should people go to learn more about you and your work?
So that would be the website, growwithlime.com. So you'll be able to type that in, and that talks a little bit about our services and our practices. And also folks are welcome to follow me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of commentary around the space of strategy and innovation and real true work-life integration, as those are really important themes. So please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn as well.
Michele definitely has a real passion for this stuff and some great insights based on a track record of success and working in the trenches. So highly recommend that you reach out, connect, follow. If you do send Michele a connection request, this is just the best practice for anything in the world of LinkedIn. Add a little note. If you're on mobile, you can just click a little button that says like options, or you just don't click connect right away, because then it'll just send your connection request without a message, something like more or whatever. And then from there, you can say add a message with your connection request. Or if you're on your laptop, that's an option for you. Send her a note, let her know that you learned about Michele and her work through the podcast, and get in touch. So Michele, thank you again so much for coming on today.
Thanks for the opportunity, Michael. It's always great to talk about these really exciting things. So thanks a bunch. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. For more episodes and to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And if you'd like to develop consistent lead flow and a highly profitable consulting business, learn more about our coaching programs at consultingsuccess.com.